famous five. Five go adventuring again. Christmas has become a bit messy and a bit less fun because of George's behavior towards Mr. Roland, their tutor. It has also become a small sort of adventure, but we all know that things will boil up later on. Keep watching to find out how. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel Advaith's Pod. Let's continue with the book 5 Go Adventuring Again after this revision of what we saw last episode. Previously, we saw that even though George had behaved awfully good towards Mr. Roland, he just stubbornly refused to let Timothy inside.
What?
We also saw that George had crept into the study with Timmy to rub his chest with camphorated oil. She hadn't attended lessons too, and her father was very angry. He was also anxious about his stolen papers, which contained the heart of his secret formula. As a punishment for not attending lessons, George was not allowed to see Tim for 3 days. She also had to lay in bed for the rest of the day. But when she did, she thought everything over and eventually concluded that Mr. Roland was the thief of the stolen papers. Now that you guys have revised, let's continue with 5 Go Adventuring Against 13th, 14th, 15th and 16th chapters. Chapter 13. Julian has a surprise. George's cousins were forbidden to see George, but when Uncle Quentin was in his study, Aunt Fanny and Joanna in the kitchen, and Mr. Roland in his room preparing to go out after the snow stopped falling, Julian decided to go and see George. He visited her and she told him all her thoughts about Mr. Roland. She didn't have time to talk about the secret way. Julian did not believe her or her thoughts. So, George instructed Julian to follow Mr. Roland as the snow had stopped falling and Mr. Roland had already gone out. Julian agreed and followed Mr. Roland, whispering to Dick and Anne that he would be back in some time. Julian surprisingly found out that George was right. The tutor and the artists were together.
What?
It was really surprising. He also saw that Mr. Roland had passed some papers to the artists, and the boy knew those must be the papers that belonged to Uncle Quentin. He went back to Kieran Cottage as it had started to snow again. Julian couldn't tell a word to the others, however, because there always seemed to be one or another grown-up about. During dinner, Aunt Fanny told them that it would snow hard, so no one would be able to get out of the house. Kiran Farm would also be snowed up. But luckily, both the households had enough food for days. But when it was time to hit the sack, the three went into George's room. Julian told everything to George, and Dick and Anne were shocked. Luckily, the secret formula couldn't be given away to another country or something because of this heavy snow, so everyone was relieved. George told the other three about the secret way. All were tingling with excitement. Chapter 14. The Secret Way at Last. At midnight, they all went down and started tapping panels in the study. To their delight, a panel slid back open. Behind it was a lever. When they pulled the lever, a stone under the carpet moved and revealed the secret way. all decided to explore it in the morning, as Uncle Quentin would be digging away at the snow, so no one would be in the study. So they went back to their beds. The next morning, they did a few lessons, because if they didn't, they would be called to dig up the snow with Uncle Quentin. Mr. Roland was sick in bed. George suddenly remembered Timothy. She rushed outside and Joanna called and said that Timmy was in the kitchen. George gave a sigh of relief and she went back to her lessons. After the lessons, Timmy appeared out of the kitchen door. The five hopped over to the study and went inside the secret way. They had closed it by pushing the lever, and so they had to open it again. Everyone got in, and Julian closed the entrance behind him by covering it with a carpet. They were going to explore the secret way at last. Chapter 15. An exciting journey and hunt. The five had to bend almost double because the passage was so low. It was also too narrow, so the children were forced to go one after the other. Eventually, they reached a room which had a resting bench, so they all rested on it. There, George suddenly realized that the passage led to Kiran Farm, as Miss Sanders had told that the secret way led from Kiran Farm to somewhere else, and that somewhere else was Kiran Cottage. Then Anne exclaimed that if the artist was snowed up at Kiran Farm, and that's where the passage led to, they could search the men's rooms and get the papers back. With this, everyone started to walk through the passage again. They reached a big stone wall soon. Julian, who was at the front of the line, realized that there were iron staples, which could be used as a ladder. He told the other three that he would go up first and see where he ends up. Julian went up and found out that he was in the cupboard with a false back. He called the others and everyone came to search the men's rooms. They locked the doors to make sure no one from the outside could get in. They found nothing while searching. And guess what? Anne had dropped something, alerting the artists that someone was in their rooms. Chapter 16. The children are discovered.
Oh no!
As the doors were locked from the inside, the men heaved on the doors, intending to break them down. The four children had to escape through the passage again, otherwise they'd be found. So they all retreated into the cupboard and George found the papers in the pockets of the men's clothes. George took them and closed the door. Now she was safe. As the five tried to escape using the ladder, a crash sound came from above. The men had broken down the door. The men discovered the secret way because Timmy started howling like mad and gave away their secret. The men saw and followed the five using the bright torches. So guys, don't you think this adventure has really pushed the limits? Are you in complete excitement like I was when I first read this book? Are you dying to know what's next? Well, you'll have to wait until the next episode where we cover the final chapter. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to my channel and share. Bye!